If you're interested in a LiTime brand battery, we're just going to go ahead and just walk through their website. They've got a huge product lineup. This isn't a sponsored video or anything. This is just, I get a lot of questions for like, what about this battery or that battery? So we're just going to line up the 12 volt, the 24 volt, the 36 volt options. And I'm going to talk you through how and maybe why you would use one of these batteries to help guide you through that. I'll try to put some QR codes over here so that you can see what I'm seeing. And let's go ahead and jump into it. Alrighty, the first one on our list is going to be the 20 amp hour marine starting battery. So this is going to get you 800 cold cranking amps. Usually the marine guys care about MCA, marine cranking amps. That's done at 32 degrees if I remember right. So 810 for that. That's going to cover you for like, I want to say up to 150 horsepower outboard, something like that. I've used a 20 amp hour on my 115 Mercury Pro XS, so 2020 model. Cranks it over just fine, has no issues with that. Now it is a marine starting battery, so it's made to handle, alternator current going into the battery being fully charged, but still allowing it to discharge. It has that smart BMS in there that's really made for an outboard, and it also has a BMS in it that's made for cranking amp requirements, like it says there at 800 cold cranking amps, which is at -10, which is obviously extremely low. This is not a self-heated battery, if I remember correctly, which if you are using it in a cranking application, if you want to run the battery when it's freezing cold out, like some of you crazies do up in the north, it's not going to accept a charge at all if the battery cells are below freezing. So you'll notice when we get to the dual purpose 165, I think that one's self-heated. And what that will do is it'll take that alternator current coming into it, heat up the battery, and then accept the charge. This one's really made for like just cranking. So like maybe run your radio for a little bit. It is not like a true dual purpose battery where you want to run like your fish finders and stuff off of it as well as your cranking battery. But anything below like that 115, 150 horsepower, this is going to spin that thing over just fine. They have it compared to an AGM here, riding lawnmowers, quads, UTVs, stuff like that. Okay, that is a high level overview of the 20 amp hour marine starting battery. Let's go into their 250 amp hour options. Now I'm only going to click on one of these. I don't recommend batteries without Bluetooth anymore. So the price difference here is $30 between the basic 50 amp hour and the smart one. To me, that's money well spent. I have to know what my battery is doing, what it's thinking, if it's charging, if it's discharging, how much SOC I have, state of charge I have left. So I will click on the 50 amp hour TM trolling motor battery with Bluetooth. Now, when would you use a 50 amp hour battery? This is equivalent to like a single lead acid battery. So if you have a small like pond hopper, what are those boats called? I can't think of it, the little plastic boats. Anyway, if you have one of those with like a 12 volt trolling motor on it, this is like the minimum you would ever consider for that. Like I said, it's about the capacity of a single lead acid, group 27 battery that you'd go get at Walmart. So it has a decent amount of runtime for something like that. Like don't think that it's not a decent battery. It's just that the price jump to 100 amp hours is going to be probably not that much more, and you double the capacity. And if you're running 12 volts, you may want it. Anyway, so what I would consider this for in the most part is going to be for two of them in a 24 volt application. It's going to give you a real nice runtime. It's going to get you 24 volts. But we will get to their 24 volt battery, which you can debate on that. This will charge with any, like if you're taking out a 2 battery configuration in 24 volts and you have a charger that will do lithiums, like a 3-bank charger that is lithium compatible, you can charge it with this guy as long as it's a 12 volt charger. That's the nice part about using 12 volt batteries. There's a ton of different multi-bank chargers out there that you can use. 240 bucks. You can get a separate charger if you want it, but like I mentioned, there's a multi-bank setup. Now this one is a goofy, they're all kind of, some of these are kind of goofy sizes. So a 50 amp hour battery, I don't think it's a group 24 size. Let's see if it tells me that. It may or may not. I don't see like a group size on here. It's 7 by 6.5 by 6. Yeah, it's kind of its own size. So when it comes down to holding these batteries in a place, you could 3D print a holder for it. You got a 3D printer like I got in this cabinet, and you can print something, or you can use like a group 24 tray and then put a block of wood or some foam in there to hold these batteries down. That's an option. Let's keep this thing moving along. We got a basic 100 amp hour. Again, no Bluetooth. That's not going to be for me. Let's jump into this Xtra Mini. I've used the Xtra Mini before, and it is a really, really sweet battery for those guys that want it for like a kayak, 12-volt kayak trolling motor battery, or for like a additional marine electronics battery. It's really, really small, 19 pounds. It's smaller than a Group 24. It's got LiTime charge protection. Trying to see if it has any dimensions on here. 350 bucks. It is, there we go, 9 inches by 5.5 by 8.25. It's a really small battery. It's a Group 22 NF. So you should be able to find a tray for that. And like I said, good for like those marine electronics installations where you want 100 amp hours of dedicated power, but you don't want some giant battery floating around in your boat. Good size for that. You can use it for trolling motor application, has Bluetooth, has all the things we like. That is the Xtra Mini. If I haven't mentioned it, there is a discount code for LiTime. It's GMFS10. That should be good for 10% off. We're going to skip the Slim. I don't really, that's not really a marine battery for me, at least in like a fishing application. You've got the 100 amp hour TM and the TM Smart and the TM Plus Smart. Now the TM Plus Smart, I think that's got a higher, it's got a higher surge capacity battery management system. Don't really need that. That's like for like a 12 volt, like an outboard, something a lot higher output than like a traditional trolling motor. Again, these are 100 amp hour batteries. So let's just click on this one for a second. 330 bucks. Like if you remember when we went and looked at the, this one has Bluetooth. When we looked at the 12 volt 50 amp hour battery, it was like 230. And so for an extra few bucks, I know it's kind of a bit, you double the capacity though, which is really, really nice. So this one's going to be used for a traditional Group 31 installation. So your big bass boat, you're taking out 2 12-volt batteries or 3 12-volt batteries, and you want to drop some 12 volts back in there. These are double the capacity of a lead acid like Group 27, Group 31 battery. All the ones I've tested, I've gotten over 100 amp hours out of. I probably have a LiTime Group something on here. Group 24 was at 104 amp hours. So there's some other ones. You're going to get plenty of power out of one of these batteries, especially if you do 2 for 24 volts at 100 amp hours. 22 pounds, so it's a little bit heavier than the Xtra Mini that we just looked at. It's got Bluetooth, low temp charge protection, all the regular things that will charge with a traditional, a lithium compatible multi-bank charger. So that's a good one to use for just like swapping out your lead acid batteries if you got the right charger. Drop these guys in here in your Group 31 battery trays and going. That battery gets a lot of use. Let's move along because this is getting lengthy. We've got Group 24s. I love Group 24s. They got 3 different flavors. A basic, which is not my favorite. The smart one, which has the Bluetooth capability on it, which I recommend. And then the super smart one that has self-heating as well. Now self-heating, I want to make sure we touch on that for a second, is not intended for storage. Like people think my battery is going to be frozen. I want to buy a self-heated battery to keep it warm. It's really just made for when you're charging the battery. Like it's going to warm itself up until it charges, and then when that charger cuts off, so will the heating circuit. The heating circuit's only going to work when there's a charge being applied to it to heat up the battery to accept a charge. That's what the self-heating is there for. So let's click through the 100 amp hour Group 24. Running this actually in my little boat here right now for marine electronics. It's got all the features, right? Low temp cutoff, it's got high temp, overcurrent protection, Bluetooth, all the things. 340 bucks. So it's a little bit more than the Group 31 that we just looked at, but it has the same capability. So if you want to save a little bit of space, let's just say you run 3 of these in your boat, you can save a decent amount of space by going from 3 Group 31s down to 3 Group 24s. Maybe you can slide some spare tools or something in the back of your boat and save you a little bit of space and just a little bit of weight. These are all 100 amp hour batteries for the most part. And so their weight's going to be really, really close because the lithium is what's driving the weight, not so much the case itself. And we've definitely put some miles on this battery, and it's been a good one for us. I really do like the Group 24s. Okay, they've got a Group 27. So like you tracker guys, that your boat comes with Group 27 trays in it, up to probably like a 190 tracker. Drop and go, right? This is going to be a nice sweet spot. It's going to swap out right with your trolling motor as it is today and fit in those trays. 100 amp hours, 330 bucks. I think that's the same price as the Group 31 that we looked at, or it's real close. And that's a nice option, right? The Group 27s have only been out for like a year. So they're a new thing, but nothing new with the chemistry or the battery management system, just a new case. 140 amp hour, 165 amp hour. These are some big dogs. Now there's key differences here. The smart ones are not dual purpose batteries. Do not use a smart one as a cranking battery. They're not the same. Now the 140 amp hour smart and the 165 smart, these guys are probably more so for RVs than for boats. But if you really needed to crank up your 12 volt marine electronics battery and you had room for a Group 31, 165 amp hours is days worth of marine electronics capacity. It's a lot. If you wanted to put two of these in in series for like a 24 volt application, I mean, you're talking, that's like running 6 lead acid batteries worth of capacity. It's days and days and days of capacity in that battery. So if you need to go on multi-day trips where power to charge is not an option, you can cram 165 amp hours in a Group 31 case and really crank it out there. So that is a nice option as well for those that really need a ton of capacity. Now this battery is in my boat today. This is the 165 dual purpose, which means cranking in like a deep cycle. It's a dual purpose battery. $569 bucks, and that's going to have Bluetooth capability and self-heating. Now, when I talked about it before, the smaller cranking battery did not have self-heating on it. So let's just say your boat's stored, it's really, really cold, you're going to break the ice this morning, get on the water, you fire up that motor. When you start up that motor, it's going to start to turn on the self-heating feature. Once it's warmed up, it will accept a charge again. All things are good. That's why you want the self-heating if you run in those conditions. If you're going to be running in Florida, doesn't really matter, but I believe all the 165s come with that size. 1200 cold cranking amps. It's got plenty of power. 1300 marine cranking amps. Now they do have some capability listed on here, I believe. One moment, please. Compatible with Mercury, Honda, Suzuki, Evinrude, Daihatsu, and more. Notice Yamaha is not on that list. And I think, keep that in mind. If you have a Yamaha, they are a bit more finicky with their battery management systems and how they handle charging. I know there are other OEMs out there for batteries that, I think MillerTech may be one of them, that has a Yamaha approved. I think Ionic might be another one. I've not used either one of those batteries. But if you have a Yamaha, this one does not say Yamaha on it. So I would probably take that as an indicator to look for something that is more directly fitting that application because they are a bit unique. I run this battery with my Mercury 115 Pro XS. It's a 2020 model. It has a stator and it's going on 2 years. So I've not had any problems. It's still charging when I go down the lake. It's not a super high output. I think it's 35 amps or something like that. But this battery runs my entire boat. That's really, really what I like about these. So it's 165 amp hours. It runs my 8612, my 93 SV, my NEMA, is that what it is? The NEMA 2000 network. It runs my Gitfish Marine Edge 19. It runs my live wells, my bilge. It literally runs the entire boat along with my outboard. And then I just have a 36 volt battery for my trolling, which is nice. So that's the big dog there. And I think that's probably going to wrap up what we're going to talk about for 12 volt batteries. Get up there to 200 amp hours. That's not particularly for us. This is a new one. This is a new one. I don't have a need for this. It says marine and trolling motor. It's a 12 volt, 200 amp hour battery. Biscuits. That is in a Group 31 case, so it's a bit taller. It's like our 24 volt 100 amp hour, which is the same amount of energy. And that is really cranking it out there. I can't really think of a good reason for this to be on like a bass boat. But I guess if you just wanted an insane amount of energy and maybe you wanted some more weight in the back of your boat, you can do that. Since this is a 200 amp hour, it's 45 pounds. So it's like the same weight of a lead acid battery, but 4 times the capacity. Goodness. Yeah, it's a lot. That's a monster battery. And then these other 280s, these are getting into like your solar setups, your golf carts, things like that. Let's move along to, 16 volt batteries aren't my favorite, but you guys probably know that by now. 16 volt batteries, one thing I do want to mention. in my testing, it has not provided any improvement to performance on a Garmin LiveScope. I did a blind test. There's a video of that. I think it's a pretty good one. And you can tell when it gets under 12 that it starts to cut out, but anything 12 up to like 21 volts, I think I ran it at, no real difference in performance. So keep that in mind. The 60 volts come into play when you need some energy density. You can get a little bit tighter package out of it. So for instance, a 12 volt 100 amp hour battery is 1280 watt hours. When you start talking about voltages, you want to talk in watt hours so you can compare the energy storage. One more time, 12 volt 100 amp hour battery, 1280 watt hours. Keep that in mind. Jot that down. This 16 volt 100 amp hour battery is 1600 watt hours. So you've got another 320 watt hours worth of energy. Did I count that right? Yes. And so that's going to get you more runtime for that given footprint. Now that said, we've already talked about like a Group 31 battery can be up to 200 amp hours. So yeah, you get a little bit lower current draw. Maybe it overcomes a little bit of poor wiring that might be in your boat. That's really where the 16 volt kind of comes into play. Is it's kind of a band-aid for some things, in my opinion. And that's why I have a channel, is I get to share my opinion with you guys. Next up are the 24 volt batteries. Now the 24 volt batteries have a unique thing about them. You need a unique charger. For a 24 volt or a 36 volt battery, you need a charger that will output 29.2 volts or whatever it is for a 24 volt battery. You cannot use a 3-bank charger and just connect the leads together and get 24 volts. That magic doesn't quite work that way. The electrons don't agree with that. And so you have to have a unique charger. Now that said, I do think there's still a benefit to those. I run a 36 volt battery I don't have room for 3 giant batteries in my boat, so I run a single battery that gets me what I need that has a ton of energy. So I really do like the multi-voltage batteries or the higher voltage batteries. Something else to consider, people love to cheap out on chargers. There's a lot of like $50 Amazon 12 volt / 24 volt chargers. And what I've noticed is most of them don't send like the wake up pulse. So they'll get a brand new battery, they'll plug in this charger, and it doesn't wake up the battery. That's really frustrating. I've never ever had a problem with a battery waking up when I use a dedicated, like not super cheap lithium charger. Okay, that said, LiTime does have a good option. They do have multi-bank chargers, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's jump into it. So 50 amp hour, 24 volt battery. This is a smart battery, so it has the Bluetooth capability, Group 24 size. So this is like running 2 lead acid batteries in a Group 24 size case. Really, really good for like those tracker guys, or if you're running a smaller boat, Tiny Boat Nation guys that maybe run a 15 footer with like a 24 volt Ultrex on it or whatever. You're really space sensitive, you're package sensitive. And so you want to make sure that you get a nice battery that's in there that's got a lot of power in it. This is pretty good for, like 6-8 hours of fishing on a heavy, decent load, like on a bass boat. So if you run a smaller boat, this is all day fishing capacity, in my opinion. $350. It's got all the BMS features. All of these pretty much, once you get the smart ones, have what you're looking for. And I've been a fan of the 24 volt batteries. The other one that I do own this battery is the Group 31 100 amp hour 24 volt battery. That is a bad mamma jamma. So that is just like that 200 amp hour battery that we looked at a few minutes ago for the 12 volt. Same amount of energy. Let's figure out what that is before I forget. It has Bluetooth capability, has all the good stuff. 2,560 watt hours of energy. That's what I'm talking about. So if you want a weekend of fishing battery for your 24 volt application, this guy's going to be like running 4 lead acid batteries in your boat in a 24 volt configuration. It's got all the good stuff, 44 pounds, and really, really good battery for that application. That should button it up for our 24 volts in kind of the fishing marine world. Yep, let's jump to 36. 36 volt batteries, the 2 that we're going to, maybe just one. The one that we're going to focus in on is the one that's in my boat right now. And that is the 36 volt 50 amp hour battery. This is like running 3 lead acid batteries in your boat in a 36 volt configuration. What I really like about this is the energy, the space savings that you get. Like I said, I don't have room for 3 batteries in my boat. I have room for 1. And that's really nice. So I can save some space there, and I just run the 2 batteries in my boat. It does need a unique charger. We talked about that. So 36 volts, I think the charge current or charge voltage is in the 43.2 volts is what you're looking for if you want to charge this guy. And continuous discharge current of 50 amps, 1920 watt hours. For me, I couldn't kill this battery in a day if I tried. Some people claim that they can. More power to them. You know, they're probably running real hot on the throttle on their trolling motor. Heavy boat, you know, 21-foot boat, something like that. But in my little rig, 18.5 foot with a 36 volt, man, I'd be going miles without killing it. Now this one, surprisingly, maybe LiTime, if you're watching this, take note. This one says max continuous discharge current of 50 amps. But what I just noticed is up here, 60 amp max discharge current for 30 minutes. That's solid. So if you've got something that pulls 55 amps at 36 volts, that's for you. Let's go check that real quick on, make sure the 24 volt didn't say that. 24 volt 50 amp hour smart. Don't see that. 250 amps for 1 second. It would be nice to get this battery with that same rating, LiTime. If you haven't noticed that, if we can get that to 60 amps continuous for 30 minutes on this battery, that would be ideal. I think some of the competitive product out there do that. Oh, there it is. Man, you got to really look for it right there. 1.2C continuous discharge for 30 minutes. There it is right there. Man, you got to really look for it. So it's there, really good. A little bit hard to find. I would put that detail down in the specifications where people will find it. Somewhere down here, like max discharge for 30 minutes, 60 amps. Okay, glad we got that sorted out. Slight correction there. So we were talking about the 36 volt battery. Really not much else to talk about with that one. I've been using it for about a year now. Fantastic battery. Let's talk chargers for just a minute. They do have some pretty sweet chargers for a boat. If you're just running one 12 volt battery, like you just add a marine electronics battery and you just need a charger for it, this 10 amp waterproof charger will do it for you. They do have multi-bank waterproof chargers, 2, 3, 4 banks, 10 amps, which is pretty nice. We also have a dual voltage, 12 volt, 16 volt, 5 amp charger. Now you do have to select that if you buy this charger. There's a post on the LiTime group. There's like a Facebook group that pops up on my feed that they had a 16 volt battery, they had this charger and it wasn't charging. Like, what the heck? You have to select 16 volts and then it'll look for a 16 volt battery and then wake it up and go. So you do need to know that. They have a 10 amp version. They have a dual voltage, 12 volt, 16 volt. They have the ones I'm looking for, looks like they're on page 2. 36 volts. If you just have a strictly 36 volt battery, this guy will do it. Pretty much a cookie cutter design. You'll see like anybody's 36 volt charger looks like this. I don't know who makes those, but they all look the same. You don't need to worry about the 18 amp, or well, I guess don't worry about the 25 amp, just get the 18 amp. I'm all over the place. Okay, and then these are the last two I'm looking for. Hidden right here on the very last page, we have these are the dual voltage waterproof 2-bank chargers. I run the 36 volt version, this one here, and they have a 24 volt version. We'll just talk about this one. So it has a leg on it that's 43.8 volts that will charge my 36 volt battery. It has a leg on it that will charge either an AGM, lead acid, or a lithium 12 volt battery. So one charger, 2 voltages, one plug-in in your boat. That's what I really like about these. $250 bucks will get that for you. It is waterproof, and I've had great luck with it. NMC batteries, I wouldn't worry about that. But lead acid or lithium iron phosphate, and that's a good way to go. Anyway, that's a quick run through of kind of the marine fishing stuff on the LiTime website. There's a discount code, GMFS10, if you need to save some money on that. But thanks for coming along. We'll see you on the next video.